Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip. I am your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest, a UFC veteran, a BJJ pioneer, and now an author, Mr. Alberto Crane. Welcome in. How you doing?
Great. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate you having me on your show.
So what is going on, and what is going on with your new book, All In?
It's about the journey. It's about the journey. It's not so much about like me. It's about the lessons on and off the mat, the journey, right, that you learn along the path, and me just sharing those things. I think there's a lot of great things, life lessons to be learned, and I've learned about myself reading it myself afterwards. Just reflecting on all the trials and tribulations, the good and the bad, that makes you, a strong person, a resilient person.
So how did this come about, writing the book and putting it together as far as All In?
It started with one of my students, actually mothers. She did a blog, and then she kept thinking about doing a book. She's like, man, I keep thinking about doing this book. What do you think? I'm like, well, if there's some lessons, if it helps people, let's do it. And it started about 5 years ago, and she rewrote. It was her first book. And after about 3 tries, 3 rewrites, we finally did it and put it out this last year, and it's getting relaunched March 24th with a new publisher, Morgan James, and I'm really excited.
So for the book, is it mostly MMA? Is it mostly kind of post MMA? Just break down as far as some of the life lessons in the book.
Sure. So when I was 18, I took a big leap of faith, and I went all in, and I keep saying that word, right?
Yep.
Book. But I moved to Brazil. It didn't make any sense at the time. It was the early days, the beginning of the UFC. I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. I loved how it made me feel when I was training it. And then one of my, really good friends went down to Brazil first. I was 18. He was 6 years older than me. And so he moved to Brazil and came back and showed me all these things that he was doing. And I was like, oh, man, I want to do that too. And took the jump, went down there, saved some money, and really, set my goals high and wanted to become the best in the world. And it didn't make sense, like I said, with my family wanted me to finish college. And I took a different route. And, fast forward, I ended up moving back to the stateside and started my gym, over 25 years ago. And it was like one of those moments, right? That kind of like, yeah, you can be comfortable. You can, take the easy route, right? But I took the kind of out of my comfort zone, moving to Brazil, moving to a different country where I didn't even speak the language, went through some very, very hard times, difficult times. And it's something I will never regret. And I highly recommend for people to take that jump if they're, because the most dangerous thing is to take the easy route, take the comfort zone, right? And not fulfilling or living your dreams. I think that's the lesson there.
My professor, going back a couple of years, teacher, he did the same thing. I wonder if you know him, or if this could be your friend, Jason. Jason Tabor.
What city?
So he's in New Jersey now. He's basically part of, I guess it's Rumson or Fairhaven, New Jersey. But he did the same thing. He might be around your same age. He might actually be a little bit younger than you. Because you mentioned your buddy was older, so it's definitely not him. But interesting path. He did the same thing. He went to
Is he Renzo Gracie?
Yep.
Renzo Gracie Blackwood. Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So he basically did the same journey almost to go out there and really learn his craft.
Yeah. My first trip down to Brazil, I went to Rio, and I stopped at Renzo Gracie when he was just starting his school, and he asked me to bring his laptop to give to his friend. And I was a teenager, and so when you go through the customs, they're like, oh, do you have anything that's not yours? I'm like, well, actually, yeah, I brought a laptop from my friend, and they kept me in customs for a couple hours until my older friend got me out of there. But it's my Renzo Gracie, favored that. I didn't, have the common sense to say, hey, everything's mine.
Right, of course. You should just, yeah. They're like, wait a second, it's not yours. What's on this laptop? Yeah. Right. Like, wait a second here. What do you mean it's not your laptop? What's on here? Yeah. You get learn it the hard way for sure.
Yeah, naive kid.
What was that like though, doing that? Because that's got to be nerve wracking, no? Like, okay, I'm going to go not only to a new place, a new country.
Yeah. So my first day, I got there. That was my first experience landing in Brazil. And then my friend Amal Easton, who has a bunch of gyms in Colorado, he's a Renzo Gracie black belt as well. We drove through Rio de Janeiro, Copacabana, all the nice areas. But on the way to those nice areas, we stopped in the downtown Rio de Janeiro, and there's like a homeless guy eating out of the restaurant. And I was like, oh man, this is I was worried about getting sick as well. And so then we drove through through the paradise. Really, it's beautiful. There's so many, favelas on one side and the nicest areas right next door, right? So like the contrast is huge, right, when you drive through Rio. But it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. We get there to the other side. It's called Barra de Tijuca, where there's like a lagoon, and we actually had a house right on one of inside the lagoon on one of the islands. There's like little islands inside the lagoon. So you drive into Baja, and the ocean is going into that lagoon, right? You can see the water getting washed in. And then I drive in, and then there's islands on the right side, off the freeway there. And then we lived on one of those islands behind the gas station. We parked the car. He had a Volkswagen Beetle, one of the old school ones, right?
Nice.
The Beetle, what was it from the Transformers? Beetlejuice, one of those old school, the original one, right?
Yes.
And so to get to my house, take a little ferry, and then I had to walk to the side of the island, and I had to paddle a boat to get to my house because there was no land access. And so my first day, he's like, yeah, can take the bags to the house, and I pushed off, and the boat started spinning. I'd never like paddled a boat before, right? And it started spinning me, and I'm like grabbing the ground. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. I remember seeing the water getting washed in. I thought I was gonna get washed out to the ocean, and it took me about 30 minutes to get back to the original spot. I was like, oh man, I don't know how to paddle a boat. And he laughed, and he came back, and he helped me out, and we. He's like, yeah, you push off, go left, right to paddle the boat, and we get to the house. And then to finish it off at the end of the night, I'm about to close my eyes, and I hear these gunshots. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh man, we're getting, because I'm a kid, and I'm a teenager, and I'm in a third world country, right? I have like the worst. I don't know. I have just people tell you things. It's so dangerous, this and that. I don't know what to expect. And I hear these gunshots. Like, oh man, I'm gonna get, gonna get robbed and killed or whatever. And so I hide under the bed. And because I didn't know, I was like, what do I do? What do I do?
Right.
And then a few, maybe 10 minutes later, whatever, my friend with the guy who was taking care of the home. It was a caretaker of the home. It was like this mansion that was just basically abandoned, like they moved out. So he just kind of upkept it, but it was definitely like a rundown. But he did his best, right, with the nature and everything. And like, what are you doing, man? I'm here. Alberto, where you at? I'm under here. He's like, what are you doing? He looks under the bed, and we laugh. He's like, oh man, I thought we were getting robbed. I thought we were getting killed. And so that was my first day in Brazil. It was the beginning of a wild ride. I'll say that much.
Crazy. By the way, Bumblebee, not Beetlejuice. I was just thinking that too. Bumblebee is
yep.
Yes.
I said Beetlejuice is something else.
yes. I was just thinking. I was like, wait, it can't be Beetlejuice. Yeah, it's Bumblebee.
Bumblebee.
Yes.
Right.
Man, though, that's like a scary experience because you're young, you have no idea what's going on. There's guns going off. You don't really know how you're doing this paddle boat, like kind of just a weird, crazy thing, but you did it and you got through it.
Yeah, I got through it exactly, and that's I think the name of the game, right? Just keep showing up, keep moving forward, keep trying, and I think that's where the magic happens, right? Doing your best always as well.
So when you're training with Renzo and the guys, right? You're doing the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Really, you're starting out. Was that a passion, or was that just something you were like, I'm gonna try this out? Like, what, like, how did that part go through your mind?
So I worked at this restaurant right after high school, and Amal Easton, who's a Renzo Gracie black belt, right? There was a group of them that were doing jiu-jitsu, and it took them about 6 months to convince me to do a class. And my friend that was much smaller than me, he armbarred me like 10 times, and I couldn't believe it that this guy was much smaller than me, and that he was beating me. And so I was like, I have to learn this. So after that, I never missed a class. We had classes first once a week and then twice a week. And then soon after, my friend Amal Easton moved down to Brazil and learn from the Gracie family. Met Henzo actually that down there too. He helped Henzo heal his arm. He had just one of those early Vale-Tudo fights. So I think he had kind of hurt his hand. So he was an acupuncturist. So he did some acupuncture on his hands. And he likes to tell me, like, yeah, I think I went to acupuncture school just for that moment for me to do the acupuncture on Henzo Gracie's hand to help him out, just for that one moment, right? All those years of schooling just for that one moment, because that's what he does now for, as a living. He's had the opportunity to change the lives of tens of thousands of lives as well as I have.
Nice. Love that. So how quickly do you start grasping it? Like, where you're starting to get good? Because obviously if you look at your resume, it's ridiculously good. So how quick do you really grasp it?
Man, at the beginning, I lost a lot. I lost for about 3 years straight. Like, there weren't that many tournaments back in those days. And so it was really a hard time. I didn't have that much money. It was kind of a crazy thing. I would sleep in airports, just try to, get to the next thing. And there was no potential to make a living off of this. It's just a passion, right? It's something you really love to do, that I really love to do. And so I lost for about 3 years, and I kept going. I had moved down to Brazil to get better. I set my goals high. I wanted to be one of the best in the world. And after about 3 years, I finally win my first thing, my first tournament. And I'm like, oh man. And then the next month I placed at the Worlds, and I was one of the best, guys all the way through to a black belt. But I wouldn't have known that if I would have quit like the month before, because every time you lose, you feel like, your whole life is, you're devastated, right? And so after every loss, I felt like my life was over, and I had my pity party and keep going. And so this is like, if I would have known that, and looking back now, all the things that I've won, it's something I'm most proud of, right? That I persevered in that moment, and it's really given me confidence in my life and everything that I've done. It was just the losing and persevering, and because I wouldn't have known that I was one of the best in the world, at my belt rank, whatever at that time, if I would have stopped before that.
It's crazy how many titles have you won? Do you know, or have you lost track? Is it's like
I've been
at least 20. It's nuts.
I mean, I've been competing so long, so I've had so many tournaments, and then I started fighting later on, So I've won a lot of tournaments and world championships and stuff, gi, no gi, and MMA, and it's been a lot of fun, Like, I think my biggest contribution, though, right, has been teaching and helping others through the lessons that I've learned on the mat. And so this book, All In, right, is just the lessons that I've learned along the way. Not all of them, right, but many of them. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun just hearing the origin stories of just how, it came about in the beginning days, right? The pioneering days of an American, a non-Brazilian, moving to Brazil and doing this martial art.
What do you think is the most important lesson to teach? Is it the perseverance? Is the, hey, I've lost before, by the way, you just got to keep fighting? Or what do you think is the best lesson?
The best lesson is, the resilience, right? Just showing up no matter what, like no matter how hard it gets. If you're hurt, you're injured, you're this or that, just show up no matter what. Do your best. If you can't walk, you crawl. If you can't crawl, just be there and watch with your eyes. And I think there's a lesson that everybody can use, and that's where the magic happens. Keep moving no matter what, no matter how bad it gets. Keep moving, and you'll be okay.
When you're looking at the like competing aspect, do you like the gi? You like the no gi? Because I know a lot of people can be a little bit different, or maybe picky. And are you picky and choosy in that way, or do you prefer gi, no gi?
We do a lot of like social media things, and like what that question keeps coming up, right? Gi or no gi?
Right.
No gi?
Yeah.
Yep. And I think for me, I think it's both, right? They're both fun. I think gi is great because you have a lot more tools. No gi is a little bit faster, but there's also different techniques. So I really enjoy like all of them, even like, MMA parts, right? The jiu-jitsu grappling for MMA, like from like self-defense aspect, street kind of application. So I think as a martial artist, as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I think the old school is really like the best school because you do kind of a little bit of all things, right? You're not just a specialist in the gi, you're not just a specialist in no gi. We know it all, Of course, you focus more on one when you're maybe competing in one, and you maybe focus more on one for some years, right, or some time. But I think it's good to have everything in your pocket, and I love all of them.
Do you have a favorite submission that you do?
Oh, that's a good one. There's a crucifix position. I was wanting to do that in the UFC. A crucifix position is basically where I trap your arm with my legs, and it's like an arm bar with my legs, and I can choke you at the same time. And so I was wanting to hit that, and like on the big stage, never had the opportunity, but that's definitely my favorite submission. I think I've gotten 3 MMA fights with that, and a ton of gi and no gi matches as well.
Love that. That's definitely different. Hard to pull off though, depending on positioning, right? I mean, that could be a hard one.
Yeah, it's like a finesse move. You really have to understand like the details, right? You have to have like some mastery in that position, because if you mess up on the position, you can end up in a bad position where the person can beat you up a little bit if it's a fight.
When you're looking at like gi versus no gi, and yeah, obviously, different tournaments are different goes about it. Do you love the gi, using it as a weapon? Is that like the advantage you think of the gi sometimes, or you think it's just the tradition of it?
One of the beautiful things, my daughter has been wrestling the last few years, really competitively, and so I've been in the wrestling world now too, like the freestyle wrestling world, and one of the things that's made me appreciate jiu-jitsu even more is the lifestyle. It never fully really ends. There's master divisions, like veteran divisions with different ages, and so I think for the gi part, I think you can control more, and so it's a little bit slower. And so I think that's helpful, as maybe you get a little bit older. I think no gi is also, you can do no gi as well, and I do both still, but I think gi is nice because you can slow down the match, and that's good maybe as you age a little bit and you're not as fast and as athletic as you once were when you were 20 years old.
A lot more grips, right? And you get the collar grip and everything, much more grips.
More grips, more control. Harder for people to explode out because you have more control for sure.
When you're looking at no-gi, do you like the fact that the tournaments are no-gi? Do you like that aspect because it can be real fast, can be real free-flowing? Is that like an advantage for you that you like, or you don't? It doesn't mind, you don't care. Either way is an advantage for you, kind of thing.
When I was fighting professionally, I trained mainly no-gi, right? Those times, I trained mainly no-gi, and so. Man, I love all the front headlocks. I love all the no-gi techniques and moves and things that you can do countering wrestling. If I was going against a wrestler, different styles. I love in the no-gi aspect, right? You have to have another kind of finesse, right? Another kind of understanding. So I really love no-gi because of how it is, right? And so I really appreciate when you ask me, I can't side on one or the other because I think all of them are great, and I think everybody should do all of them because it's fun. Gi is fun because you have the different controls, you have the different techniques with the gi that you can use the gi for chokes, for different things. There's different games that you can play with the gi, and then no gi, you don't have these controls, you have different controls, and I think it's really beautiful, and you can do a lot more things that you can't do with the gi, some of the chokes, some of those controls, and so you have to adapt it, and I think it makes you well-rounded martial artist.
Yep. Funny, this is going back many years when I was doing some training with my professor, and he's like, "Oh, we could try no-gi." I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. This is fun. This is different." So I wore my Stakaraba shirt to kind of mess with him because he's a Gracie guy. He's like, "Oh, come on now." So I think he took advantage of me a little bit. He took, tapped me out a few times because I had that shirt on. But I said, "Oh, sorry. He's the Gracie hunter. I got to wear it since you're a Gracie guy."
Yeah. I was trying to think of the Sakaraba's first match. It was in UFC. It was against a Gracie student. Who was it? Victor Belfort? I'm not sure who it was. I watched it. Somehow I came up on my feed on my social media.
I know he beat him. I don't know if I thought he beat him in Pride. I'm not sure if that
he beat
was,
it was after that he started beating all the Gracies in the Pride. He beat Father Gracie. Then he beat of course that famous Hoist on a 3-hour match, and then he went Hanzo, our hero
Hoyler.
Hanzo. Yep. Hoyler, yeah. So he went down the line. Took them all out, one by one in the era of, they were unbeatable, right?
Yeah, they were kind of like gods, really, right? And then he kind of beat him one by one by one. It's like, holy crap, this guy is better than the Gracies. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. And he if you ever go to Renzo Gracie, have you been to Renzo Gracie school in the blue
No,
basement?
no. Mm-mm.
And so he has one picture. He doesn't have a bunch of medals on the wall. He doesn't have, a trophy, whatever. He has one picture on the wall of him. And it's of Renzo Gracie getting submitted with the Kimura, with that, the figure four.
Yeah.
And his elbow popping out by Sakuraba. That's the picture he has on the wall.
Wow, why?
It's true leader. You can ask you, why would he put that, the humbling experience, right?
Yes.
It's like he's a warrior and just goes out on a shield, and the courage, the guts, that's where it's at, right? Trying, right? The man in the arena quote, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's the winning, trying, going, doing, not, criticizing other people, whatever, pointing out why that person, is good or not good, but actually being in there and going for it. And he lives by that mantra. He lives by that. And that's I think that's why.
That's great too. That's awesome. Because that fight is unbelievable, and it's crazy that he did that and kind of got him in that position. Was able to really lock in the Kimura. Yeah, really cinched it in. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But he beat Marcus Silveria first in UFC. Then he beat Belfort in Pride, and then he beat Hoyce, and then Hoyler, and then Renzo, and then Hyan Gracie too. He beat. So
Hyan Gracie,
he beat them all.
Yeah. Gracie, yeah. Wild.
If you look at it too, isn't the old Helio Gracie versus Maeda? Isn't that like the big point of contention? Kind of who really is it? The Japanese or the Brazilians that are like the best? If you go we're going all the way back here. We're going like 50, 60 years back here.
Right. So I think Helio went against Kimura. Speaking of the Kimura, is that lock? That figure four, like shoulder lock kind of position, right? That I think his elbow gets the elbow as well, right? And Renzo's elbow popped out. It's so interesting you say that. Because Kimura got Helio Gracie in the Kimura. He was much heavier than Helio, but he went to Japan. He was supposedly the best, the best of all time. And Helio challenged him, and stopped him from submitting him 15 minutes in. And then, sure enough, fast forward all these years later. I don't know how many years later it is. 70 years. He fights Sakuraba in Japan. And he gets hit with the same thing, with the same technique, same move.
Crazy. And Helio was there when Hoyce lost to Sakuraba and shook his hand. He's basically the one that threw in the towel and shook his hand and said, "You're the better guy today." That kind of thing. Ultimate respect.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't deny Sakuraba's place in the history books, right? By doing what he did.
I love that he's a pro wrestler, Sakuraba. So people, are saying that pro wrestlers aren't that tough. I beg to differ. There's him, Brock Lesnar, obviously, would be another one. But beg to differ. Ken Shamrock, obviously, would be another good one. But it's just man, this guy's a pro wrestler. He's beaten some of the best guys in the world. Obviously, he's more than just a wrestler, but pretty cool.
The pro wrestling and Pride, right? That's what elevated Pride. I feel like that made it the biggest event in the world.
Yep.
When UFC was struggling, Pride was where it was at. I mean, everybody in the US, they couldn't wait for the next Pride event, and it was that pro wrestling aspect contribution to the MMA, to the fight. That fight that made it really elevated the sport.
Yeah, and the big draw for the first couple shows was Takada versus Rickson Gracie. That was the big draw. And obviously Rickson ends up kind of kicking his ass quite a bit. But Sakuraba is Takada's student. So it's they ended up getting him in the end. It's an interesting rivalry, but awesome job by Pride getting that all together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, just the history, right? It's all interconnected if you really go back to the history of all these wrestling and jiu-jitsu and judo, and it all kind of merges together. So it's kind of cool for it to fast forward all those years later to see it on the big stage, right?
Definitely. So you were King of the Cage Lightweight Champion. Is that what led to the UFC? Because obviously, you're kicking ass, taking names there. Is that leads to a UFC run?
Correct. Yeah. So I was just doing jiu-jitsu. I never thought I would be fighting MMA. And then King of the Cage came to New Mexico because I used to live in New Mexico. And I asked Greg Jackson, can you think I can get on the card? He gave me the guy's number, the matchmaker. He got me on the card. And then basically, remember Dan Severn?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Dan Severn. So he was the main event. And then I was like, well, how much money is there? And not that I was going to fight for money, but they're like $300. I'm like, okay. Is there any other things that I can do to make to make something? And he's like, well, you get percentage off the tickets. He's like, okay. So I charged $10,000 on my credit card for tickets, because I had a big following in New Mexico. I had a school there, and a lot of people knew me. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then when it came closer to the fight time, I sold all the tickets, and they instantly moved me from the undercard to the semi-main event right behind Dan Severn. And then after that, they plugging me to to fight for the championship. For the next draft, we'll give you a title fight if you do this next fight, because there was still no money, right?
Right.
And there wasn't even like there's no money. It was like it's not worth my time. Like I'm losing a lot of money to just train because I'm giving up a lot of other things, right? Not that I did it for the money, but just like, man, why would I do this? One is good. I got it out of the way from my bucket list, right? But then if you fight again, we'll give you a title fight. And the champion at the time, was kind of stuck up towards me and kind of arrogant, so I really wanted to fight him. And then after I won the King of the Cage title, the UFC started knocking on the door. I only had like 3 fights under my belt, but that was the road towards the UFC.
What did you think about your time in the UFC? I know 2 tough opponents. Kurt Pellegrino, New Jersey boy like me. Love Kurt. Yeah. So what do you think about those matches? Tough. Roger Huerta too. He's a hell of a fighter.
Yeah, they were built. He was definitely getting built up. He was on the Sports Illustrated magazine cover. They were definitely building him up. After I won the King of the Cage title, the UFC was knocking on my door, and in the meantime, though, I did promoted some shows back home, and then I moved to LA, Los Angeles, where I live now. And I had a son, and I hadn't fought for a couple of years, like 2.5 years before I made my UFC debut. But I had a choice when I moved here to LA. I was like, well, what would you want to do if anything's possible? And I was like, well, I want to finish out my career. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep fighting. And so I did the fight, took the fight with Roger Huerta. I got really tired, and broke my orbital and got hurt, Wow. And he was a tough opponent, respect. And then I had Kurt Pellegrino. I did a head kick, and then we hung out like times before, so it was kind of interesting fighting a friend and then seeing him bleed out of his face from a kick, And then I went to jiu-jitsu mode, and then he recovered, and then he came back and won. So the fights didn't work out, but who knows what's good and what's bad, because maybe if I would have kept fighting, maybe it would have been worse for my health, because 5 years into fighting, in the UFC, or 5 years, whatever, after my UFC debut, I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
And multiple sclerosis, the doctor's like, well, they gave me a stack of drug catalogs and asked me which ones I wanted to take. They didn't clear me. Every 5 years, they make you do a brain MRI for your fight medical to get your fight license. And so I didn't pass the one 5 years later, and they asked me which ones I wanted to take. And I did some research, and it says it may or may not help me, right? But there's going to be side effects. And I was kind of in a little bit of shock, and you start looking things up, and you see people ending up in wheelchairs. What's his name? The Mendoza who won. He's won the national championship for Indiana.
Fernando Mendoza.
Fernando Mendoza.
His
Mom,
yeah.
His mom has MS, and so he's in a wheelchair, right? So that's what I was kind of thinking could be, but because of my background, I think, of martial arts and the whole mind over matter, that didn't let me accept that I had MS, or that's where I was gonna end up, So I started to do research, and I found this Dr. Wall's protocol, nutrition, because she was an MD, and she was basically had all the best care possible, and she kept getting worse. And she's like, I gotta change something. She was bedridden pretty much at that point. She's like, I'm getting worse, so I got to change something. And so she started to change up her diet, and she started to get better with how she ate. And so that's what I did. I started to change how I ate. Paleo style diet, whole foods, try to save sugars, a lot of green juices, things like that. And then I ended up finding, eventually I went on a world tour first, because I was like, if I'm gonna go out, maybe I can't do this in 6 months. I went on a world tour of jiu-jitsu competitions, because I thought maybe in 6 months, I'm not going to be able to do this. Might as well go out on my shield. So I did a world tour.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I had a moment where I got food poisoning, and I still won the tournament. I got choked out, and I came back and won the open weight, and it really showed me the power of the mind. And so maybe that's what I was searching for, right? Like all those moments lead up to one moment that really defines, that gives you something, right? And that was that moment for me, because it showed me the power of the mind. Like I was, when you have food poisoning, it feels like you have the flu.
Yep.
And I remember this, like, am I gonna go home and feel bad for myself? The guy who I competed against, he's like, why don't you do the open weight? Because I qualified for the open weight, which is any weight, right? Any weight division.
Yep.
And so I did that, and I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I felt like crap. But I started to think, I believe in my technique, and that started to make me feel good. And so I kept doing that like a mantra, and I did that for a couple hours. I believe in my technique. And I went out there with my first match, second match, third match, and I even did a few more matches in the evening time. And after the day, when I was, going home to the hotel and flying back as well from the tournament, I was like, wow, the power of the mind. And at that moment, I knew I could win. I could beat like MS. I was not gonna be in a wheelchair. I was gonna figure it out. I was gonna win.
Man, talk about toughness and dealing with adversity. Jesus. I mean, like, you get the MS, that doesn't stop you at all. You just go on and you start winning all these tournaments. It's mind boggling. It's crazy. Like, kudos to you. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. It's pretty crazy that I was able to still find a way to win, right? I couldn't move. I had a lot of issues, but the jiu-jitsu is amazing. The mind is amazing. Mindset, right? And so how you think, is how you live, right? So because I was able to have my background, I think that gave me definitely got me on the right path. And then that led me eventually to do TacFit, because when I was training for one of my UFC fights, I met the founder of TacFit, the Tactical Fitness, Scott Sonnen. And it was one thing. I learned a lot of things when I was training with him, but it was one thing that I never forgot. I got suplexed on my neck. I had a fight coming up, and I got suplexed, and I hurt my neck really, really bad. And what is it? Usually you take pain pills, 4 to 6 weeks. There's talk about surgery, and your neck or your body that body part never fully heals, right? And I was in pain all day long, right? And so he's like, okay, every time you have pain, you're gonna do these movements to get rid of the pain. And it was something that like blew my mind, that I could heal myself the movement, because I got better in a week. After doing movement, that I could heal myself with movements, instead of like, pain or pain medication or whatever, I could heal myself the movement. I was like, why didn't anybody else ever show me these things,
Right.
And so it's something I never forgot. And then fast forward, after my world tour after my MS diagnosis of jiu-jitsu, I was like, okay, he's always really nice to me, always responding to my messages. He's like, why don't you come out and do a certification? And so I did a certification in Washington, Bellingham, Washington State. And that was the beginning of the next chapter, of the journey, And I went to all the certifications, and little by little, it started to get better and better and better. My brain started to function better. I had all these techniques. I went down this rabbit hole of, applied neuroscience, how the body works. I even did human dissection down to the bones, because I had to understand why things started to come back online, why things started to improve in my body. And it's really given me a lot of tools on recovery for my students here in jiu-jitsu, and just for everybody around me, my family. And it's changed my life, and it's really cool because I get to help other people change their lives as well with this system.
That's awesome. They do say the motion is the lotion, if you will. Like when you're injured, like sitting around is not going to help. You got to kind of, keep moving.
Right. The guy who coined the term RICE, right? The RICE, right? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. When he got older, he's like, I was wrong. Like you said, motion is lotion. You want to move it, right? Out of pain, but you move it. You move whatever body part, you move it out of pain, but you move it right away. you know, whereas if you go to the doctor, sometimes they would, depends on the doctor. I shouldn't say that like that, but you go to, especially some years ago, they put you in a sling, right? I've had students of mine, they go to the doctor and they put them in a sling where you don't move your elbow. And I'm like, okay. And it never healed. And then the student hurt their other elbow. And I'm like, okay, do these movements, you know, move your elbow like this. Every time you have pain, they were going to compete, I showed them how to tape up their elbow to compete so that it's more secure, whatever. And I got better, fully healed, right? And
wow.
The doctor who coined that term, Rice, right? He's like, yeah, motion is lotion. You want to move it, right? And that's because when you ice it, you kind of stop the healing from happening, right? And so your brain connects to that body part, and then it relaxes, and then it's able to heal itself. Of course, if your bone is sticking out, right, you want to go to the doctor and you want to get that bad boy reset. Yes. But overall, right, you want to move your stuff. You want to move your body parts.
Right. Yeah, don't just gestate and just stand there and just keep not moving at all. It's just going to get worse.
Right. You know, it's interesting because it's allowed me to help a lot of my students, big guys too, like power lifters and stuff. And same thing. Oh, my lower back is killing me. And the doctors can't figure it out. I'm like, okay, do these movements, do these move your lumbar forward and backwards like that every time you have pain. Same concept. And then they're able to heal themselves. Oh, my pain, it doesn't hurt anymore, after they do that. You can even do it while you're sitting, right? If your lower back from sitting down too long, right?
Yeah.
Move your lower back forward and backwards. And then, the body, the brain, everything takes care of itself.
It's crazy, right? After that diagnosis, that you're still teaching and you're still able to just kind of just move on quickly from it. Is that more mental than physical, or are you saying like even with the diet and everything, that's really helped you beyond it? Because it's kind of remarkable.
It's interesting you say that, because I think somebody did an interview with me a couple of weeks ago, and they asked me, and I was like, well, I guess I don't accept it. I don't accept that I'm sick, that there's something wrong with me. I don't accept it. Even if I am, I'll just laugh at myself and I'll just keep doing my best, because accepting that is like accepting, in a way, like losing or defeat, right? And every day we have, I don't know how many choices we have, but a lot of different choices, and I definitely choose to win and to do my best and to keep going no matter what. And I think that mindset has served me well.
And that's a great teaching, and obviously you're teaching your students that, but that's a great teaching for just anybody out there, the choices and the mindset.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's what we try to do, right? And I think going back to the book, All In, it's about lessons on and off the mat, but all these lessons are in there from different scenarios, different experiences. I've learned the hard way, and it's cool because we travel the world and we go through different times, right? It's already been 30 years of that, and so it's cool. It's cool, especially if you're into jiu-jitsu, if you're just into mindset, or if you're not into jiu-jitsu, but something in the martial arts. I think it's definitely resonates a little bit more. But I think even if you don't, I think just sports, just mindset, I think it's a great book to learn from.
So as we hit the wind down, head towards the finish, where can everybody find and where can everybody get the book?
Thank you. March 24th, it will be re-released. We released it, I think, in November last year, and Morgan James picked it up. And so March 24th, where you can find books, bookstores, online, anywhere where you can find books, you can get it. All In, lessons on and off the mat. So we have a website, albertocrane.com. Drop your name and your email, and we'll send you some info as well as things move along.
As far as you, where can everybody find and follow you on social media?
My name, Alberto Crane, on Instagram, pretty much all the platforms. I got rid of my TikTok. Sorry, TikTokers, but it's too many things, and I hear too many spy things, so I backed off of TikTok. Not that I use it anyway.
It's funny. I did it on TikTok. I'm doing the search engine thing, and it's like telling me to get rid of TikTok. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, what are they doing? Like, they're outright telling me that Oracle or whatever. I was like, wait, what the hell's going on here with TikTok? They're not quiet about it though. It's weird. They're almost telling you. Yeah. But people are so addicted to it. They'll stay on it anyway. They don't care.
Yeah. Yep. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's for sure. Anything that, as far as you, that you would say would be like your favorite win or your favorite accomplishment, or what would you kind of say?
I think as from competing, for competing is those losses, losing for 3 years and persevering, and then winning. That lesson I'll carry with me till the end. Just don't give up. Keep trying. You have a passion. You have something in your heart. Keep going. Keep going. And then in life, my family, my kids, my wife, my family.
Awesome. Alberto, thank you so much for all the time. Everybody needs to check out All In, which is a great story, not only about perseverance, but about not giving up, and a little bit of BJJ and MMA mixed in there too. So awesome stuff, Alberto. Thank you. Appreciate it all the time.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.